in just about an hour and 15 minutes. We're expecting Health Minister Zweli Mkhize to deliver a virtual briefing, giving us an idea on how we're doing on the COVID-19 front. Of course, there's a lot of anticipation amid the host of questions that people have about South Africa's response to the pandemic. If you're paying attention to detail, you would have sort of seen that in the past 2 days, South Africa's recorded well below 10 million or 10,000 cases in just a day. Now, this has been quite a deviation from the pattern we've seen in the past few weeks. However, if you really pay attention to detail, you've seen that we're testing a whole less people than we typically would, and perhaps that's why we're picking up fewer cases in one 24-hour cycle. The obvious question becomes why? Why does it seem that we're testing a whole lot less than we used to? Hopefully, the Health Minister will be able to shed some light insofar as that is concerned. But of course, in the backdrop, there's also ongoing issues to do with our healthcare system in several provinces, including the Eastern Cape and KZN, where, some modeling is suggesting that those two provinces are approaching their peak. We've seen that the Western Cape has, at least on the face of it, plateaued, while Gauteng, we imagine, will soon also arrive at that place. So many things to look out for. Of course, we'll take the briefing as soon as it begins right here on Newsroom Africa, channel 405. Speaking of ongoing stories, the State Capital Commission of Inquiry will also resume today. We're still not sure who is going to take the stand today. Tumale Mhlari will, of course, communicate to us as soon as it's confirmed. But in the past sittings, we've seen Judge Dintswalo Makubela asking for postponement. Now, she was meant to shed light on some dealings that took place in PRASA. But the basis for her postponement seems, at the very least, to have annoyed Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. She basically said she needed more time, and also said that she, I guess, needed to prepare herself given how the media has represented her in the lead up to her testimony, suggesting that the media has painted her in a negative light and that might have a bearing on her testimony. So by all indications, it appears she might be back on the stand today. Once again, we'll have those confirmations as soon as it comes to our attention. Another ongoing issue has to do, of course, with challenges to the tobacco ban. Typically, we've been reporting on how FITA has been taking up the challenge to courts. Today, British American Tobacco South Africa is going to be taking the issue up. Now, the case had also been brought before the courts a few weeks ago at the start of the ban, and there had been a postponement. Hopefully, some of those issues will finally be ventilated in court today. The organization's attorney is quoted in some reports as saying that the company will focus on constitutional issues, including the right to trade and the individual right to bodily integrity. Issues around autonomy and the ability to self-govern around whether or not you want to smoke, I imagine, are going to take center stage. You might remember FITA had argued along the lines of tobacco being addictive, and therefore that being enough grounds for the ban to be lifted. They wanted tobacco products to be declared essential. Now, this is just a snapshot, really, of a long list of arguments that are going to be made. In fact, in our Twitter poll, we're asking whether or not you feel that these court battles are worth it, considering the attention, perhaps, that they might take from actually fighting the pandemic itself. Nonetheless, no matter how you see it, we'll bring you some of those developments as they take place today. Another ongoing issue has to do with the political unrest in Zimbabwe and the ways through which it's affecting the political dynamics in this country. If you've been watching the channel for much of yesterday, you might have seen our reporter Itekane Magwete stationed at the Beitbridge border post, which is known as being quite porous and therefore allowing a lot of Zimbabweans who are seeking refuge to be able to bypass the system in some respects and come into this country. A lot of attention yesterday was given on the plight of the individual people who are making it through that border post, despite the many, many risks and challenges that they're taking. Today we're shifting focus slightly and going to be focusing on how law enforcement is responding to this reality. How are police faring? Because in many instances, those who do manage to pass the border post and are arrested typically go back to the border post, sometimes within the same day, and are eventually able to make it into this country. Now, we had seen in the past that whatever happens in Zimbabwe certainly has a spillover in South Africa, and it is on that basis, at the very least, that this is a story worth your attention. Of course, we'll be crossing to Hitekani once again, and hopefully he'll be able to give us those insights from law enforcement officials throughout the course of the morning and, of course, throughout the course of the day. The residents in Ebony Park are planning a shutdown today. Mbali Tatani is going to be giving us an idea of the exact reasons behind some of their demands. We understand that the heart of the issues has to be with electricity troubles. Apparently, residents in that community haven't had power for several weeks now and are taking exception to that reality. We understand that some communities that are going to be involved or affected by the shutdown, including communities in Annandale and Kaalfontein, some of the community members saying that transformers that are fixed don't last too long and eventually break down again. It's certainly an issue that we've heard before in this country, and especially, of course, in some of our communities. So that's really quite a quick wrap of what to expect insofar as the 405 diary is concerned. And once again, we'll bring you those details with our reporters as soon as they unravel.